Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I love the Zoom thing. Somebody waves and everyone assumes you're waving to them, and then everybody just waves back, even though you have in mind one person and no one has absolutely any idea who you have in mind because everyone's in the same position. So, all right. Okay, tefillah. So I would say last week, but it wasn't last week. It was quite a while ago already, and I apologize about that. So we talked about that tefillah is a masuman. It is an exchange. It's a negotiation that is going on between you and Hashem. It's a negotiation that's going on because now, in order to have a negotiation, you have to have a common goal. If there's no common goal, then there's no room. There's no room for negotiation. Right? If there's no common goal, no room for negotiation. So we started off by speaking about that tefillah is a maso matan, that you have this exchange that's going on, this negotiation that's going on with Hashem, and how do we bring ourselves to get to that point to realize that we have this masuman, we have this exchange, this negotiation that's going on, we have this common goal, and on that we talked about the Birchas HaShachar. We talked about morning brachas, and we spoke about how within the Birchas HaShachar, the morning brachas, when we can stop and recognize and have the gratitude, in which the gratitude for everything that Hashem gives to us on a daily basis, from our ability to have an understanding, to know between darkness and light, who we are, that we can stand, that we can walk, that we have clothes, etc., etc. Right? That's where it starts from. Okay, so we start with a recognition of everything that Hashem gives to us. And again, when we say tefillah, okay, we say prayer. Does that mean bracha? So, needless to say, bracha, blessing, and tefillah are connected, but they're not the same. They are not one and the same. They're certainly connected. And certainly in the Gemara, when the Gemara uses tefillah, the term tefillah, it's referring to Shemona Esrei. We talked about this a little bit last time also. It's referring to Shemona Esrei. That is the main, that is the main body of prayer is Shemona Esrei, which we're not going to get up to today. We're not going to get up to Shemona Esrei today. Okay. So now let's take this to the next level. If you have someone that is constantly giving to you, doing for you, what feeling within you does that bring out? What do you recognize about that person? They're constantly giving. They're giving and they're giving and they're giving. That person, that individual, that being loves you. Because if they didn't love you, they wouldn't constantly be giving to you. Right? If they didn't love you, they wouldn't always be giving. So now, this that we said that tefillah is a masuman, it's an exchange. It's the give and take. It's the negotiation with Hashem. And that starts from a shared common goal. Now, that sounds very fancy. What's the shared common goal that we have with Hashem vis-a-vis tefillah? What's the shared common goal? So the shared common goal, which is really what I want a lot of what I want to focus on today, the shared common goal is that what we truly want for ourselves and what Hashem wants for us is the same. Now, that sounds like, whoa, second, I want a big fancy house, and I want a big fancy car, and I want to have a lot of money in the bank. That's what Hashem wants from me. So where's what I want for myself? That's what Hashem wants. And we have a common goal. What's the common goal? What's the common goal that we have with Hashem? So now, if I ask you right now, what is it that you really want for yourself? What do you want for yourself? So are you going to answer me the same way that I just answered? Big fancy car, big house, lots of money in the bank? Probably not. I hope not. Right? It's not what you're going to answer. Right? Right now, with what the world is going through, what are you going to answer? You're going to answer, I want to be healthy. I want to have a successful life. I want successful relationships. I want a level of joy. Those are going to be the answers that are going to be when we're real with ourselves. The answers are going to be, again, if we're real with ourselves, the answers are going to be much more real. If those answers are much more real, then what is it that Hashem wants for us? Hashem wants those same things that we want for ourselves, that Hashem wants for us. Now, how does this translate to tefillah? We all have tzaras. We all have problems, right? Every one of us. We have problems, we have issues, we have difficulties. And very often, what does the focus of our tefillah become? The focus of our tefillah becomes the problems and issues that we're having. That becomes the focus. And fill in the blank, problem X. I'm having difficulty with my health. I'm having difficulty with my livelihood. I'm having difficulty in a relationship. I'm having difficulty, fill in the blank. I go to daven, and that becomes my focus. Now, should it not be my focus? Should I not bring that up? No, I wouldn't say that. But what becomes the problem? Problem becomes, let's use parnasa. Let's use livelihood as an example. You're having difficulty with your livelihood. You have an interview with a client that can really make it or break it for you. So now, what do you do? What do you do with that? So now you have the interview with the client. So you're doing preparation. You're not going to walk into that meeting without knowing what does the client want, what can I provide, what's his price range. You're going to do your homework before you sit down to this meeting. That homework, and then you're going to try your darndest to put your best foot forward when you make the presentation to this potential client. What's that called? That's called ishtadlus. Right? That's ishtadlus. That means I'm being mishtadl. I am doing my best. I am putting in my effort so that the outcome comes out the way that I'd like it to come out, and I have a healthy parnasa. That's called ishtadlus. Our challenge of tefillah is, I look at tefillah, I look at my prayer as another form of ishtadlus. That I need this deal to go through. So now I stand up in tefillah, and what's my focus? My focus is on this deal going through, should the deal be part of my tefillah? Sure. Sure it should be. But should I look at my tefillah as a regular means of ishtadlus? No. That's where we make a mistake. We make a mistake and we look at, okay, this is part of my effort to get the job done. No, it's not part of your effort to get the job done. What are you doing now in tefillah? Ultimately, what's tefillah? I'm connecting with Hashem who loves me, who cares about me, who wants for me all the things that are good and that are correct, all the things that are right, all the things that I truly want for myself from the inside of my neshama. That's what Hashem wants for me. That's not ishtadlus. It's much greater. It's connection. So yes, my mentioning and asking Hashem for help with this client, asking Hashem for help with this particular issue that I have going on, of course I should, but not as a means to an end. I'm asking Hashem because you know what, Hashem, you care about me. So I'm going to discuss this with you. This is part of who I am, because of the relationship that we have, because of the closeness that we have. So I'm going to bring it up, but not because it's the only thing that I can do to get the job done. No, because that's how I connect to you. Because I'm mentioning it because I want to serve you, and this is a chelik. This is a portion of my service to you. That's what we're doing. Now, part of the difficulty, again, that we have with this, part of that difficulty is, one second, I'm going to bother God about this client meeting that I have this afternoon. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bother God with it. So the Rav Leuchter quotes the Dubna Magid. Dubna Magid has an incredible mashal, incredible parable about this. Really something very incredible. Okay, so the person is walking along the road. He's walking along the road, and he's carrying a large pack on his back, on his shoulder. He's carrying a large pack. And a wagon driver comes by, and he offers the person a ride. So this person is very grateful. He gets onto the wagon, and wagon driver starts to go. And the wagon driver notices that this person still has this large pack on his shoulder, on his back. So he tells the guy, put it down. There's plenty of room in the wagon. Put your bag down. You don't have to sit there and hold it on your shoulder. So the person goes, no, it's okay. Conversation says, really, put the bag down. Like, why do you have to sit there? It's heavy, you're uncomfortable. Put it down. He goes, it's enough that you're taking me and that I'm riding on these animals. I don't want to burden the animals with the bag also. Therefore, I'm going to hold the bag so I don't have to burden them. So says the Dubna Magid, when we say, I don't want to bother Hashem with this. So one second, you're telling me that Hashem gives me life. My whole body's functioning. I have a roof over my head. And I shouldn't mention the client meeting. I don't want to bother him. Right? I don't want to bother him with it. That's not something we should do. That doesn't make sense. No, just the opposite. He's already taking care of it. So I'm not going to him just as the ATM machine. Right? I'm going to him because he cares, because he loves me. The Nefesh Chaim writes at the beginning of the second section of Nefesh HaChaim. So Chaim Volozhin writes, it says, Li'avas Hashem Elokechem u'la'avdu b'chol levavchem u'chol nafshechem. You have to love Hashem, your God, and to serve Him with all of your heart and with all of your soul. Pasuk in Shema. So he quotes the Gemara. The Gemara says, Ezel avoda shebalev. What's the avoda of the heart? The service of the heart? Havi omer zu tefillah. That's referring to tefillah. Now, where's this coming from? So we all know that what's the avoda shebalev? It's a very famous Gemara. What's the service of the heart? That's tefillah. But it's coming from the pasuk that says, Li'ahavas Hashem Elokechem. To love Hashem, your God. Now, and how does that love have to function? B'chol lev, with your entire heart. Now, love is something, and the mitzvah of loving Hashem is totally believe. It's within the heart. Similarly, when it says b'chol nafshecha, with your entire soul, which means that even if that means giving up your life. Now, there's also, he writes, there's a very novel thought, a unique thought in this. Shegam ha'avoda hi tefillah, the avoda shebalev, the service of the heart, which is tefillah, tzurich lios b'chol lev v'chol nefesh. It has to be with your full heart, not just loving Hashem, but tefillah has to be with your full heart. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean that it's with your full heart? What does it mean it's with your full heart? Now, before we answer this question, I happen to have seen something a few weeks ago when I was preparing actually for our Tehillim class. So remember the Tehillim class? I saw something quoted. Something quoted from Rabbi Akiva Eiger. So, again, Shema is certainly a crucial part of when we talk about davening, and we talk about how tefillah, how our davening, our prayer is structured. So Shema is certainly a crucial part of that, even though Shema is its own mitzvah. Right? There's a mitzvah to say Shema, and a separate mitzvah to daven of Shemona Esrei. Two separate mitzvahs, but we put them together for very obvious reasons. Right? They all go together. Now, what's Shema? So Shema is the declaration that we accept upon ourselves the yoke of heaven. We accept upon ourselves the Hashem Echad, that Hashem is the one God, and that we are His servants, and that we accept upon ourselves the mitzvahs. That is, and the love we have of God, the love we have of Hashem. And there's a mitzvah of loving Hashem, which is what we're talking about right now. Kibbutz writes, very fascinating. Before we say Shema, what do we say? It's really like, this struck me. It was like, wow, such a beautiful, incredible concept. Before we say Shema, we say, there's a bracha we say. And the bracha starts, Ava Rabba Avtanu. With an abundance of love, Hashem, you loved us. You showed us your love. Chamla Gadola. You gave us this you showed us favor. You chose us. You gave us the Torah. There's this incredible, before we say Shema, there's this incredible declaration in this bracha that we make of Hashem's love of us. And there we say, Habocher b'amo Yisrael bi'ava. That you chose Amo Yisrael, your nation Israel, with Ava, with love. You didn't just choose us, Hashem, but you chose us with love. And then we say Shema. So there's a difficulty with Shema, and that is, how can I have a mitzvah to love someone? How could you, Hashem, give me a mitzvah that I have to love you? So Rekiv Eger says, the reason we say Ava Rabbah, the reason we say this bracha of Ava Rabbah is because first we're making the statement, the declaration of how much Hashem loves us. So when you're loved by someone, it's difficult not to return that love. When we recognize the abundance of love that Hashem has for us, then it's much easier for us to return that love to Hashem. And again, that goes back to where we started last week. Let me stop and think about and realize everything that Hashem does for me. Let me stop and realize and have gratitude for every step of the day, how Hashem is there for me. And then I'm going to declare, it's not just me as a person, but it's us as a people. It's all of us, who I'm part of. Then we come to serve Hashem with this incredible, right, with full heart. Now, that's hard. That's hard. Most of us who have been through a tefillah, we have been through a prayer, know that it's not so easy to focus, not so easy to concentrate. What often happens, I start here, and I end over here. Why? Because my mind is one. Because of the difficulty in focusing. So he writes, and this I don't want to focus on, but there are two parts of with a full heart. One is focus. Right? I'm not thinking about anything else right now. Right now, it's me and Hashem. That's what I'm focused on. It's me and Hashem. And I'm going to take us back to these steps. What does it mean it's me and Hashem? It's me and Hashem who I'm having a dialogue with, I'm having a negotiation with, because we share a common goal, because he cares about me, because he loves me, because he wants what's best for me. He wants the right things that I want for myself. That's what Hashem wants for me. Now it's a little bit easier to have that conversation and focus on. I didn't say easy. I said easier. It's easier to have that conversation. It's easier to focus on. The other part is, and I'll speak for myself, when I do this, it makes such a difference. And that is, instead of walking in, and it's challenging, because on the one hand, I have to have a big picture. I have to look at the big picture when I start to daven. But I also have to focus on what is it that I'm saying right now. What are the words that I'm saying at this moment? Because when I'm focused on the words that I'm saying right now, and if I'm really focused on them, then I'm not paying attention to something else. We've all gotten into conversations that we're in the middle of the conversation, and you look out the window, and the next thing you know, you're not in the middle of the conversation anymore because you've veered. You changed focus. But if you pay attention to what you're saying, you're focused on what you're saying, then you don't veer. You're in the moment. You're right there. When you do that, you're right there. You're focused. So those two parts of it are b'chol levavchem. B'chol levavchem, right? It's b'chol levavchem. That's, those two parts of it, that's with your full heart. It's that recognition. It's that understanding. It's that focus. That I know what I'm saying, and I know to whom I'm saying it, and I understand the relationship that I have with Hashem, and I understand the care and the love that Hashem has for me. When I do that, and whether it's then accepting upon myself, O Malchus Shamayim, accepting upon myself the yoke of heaven when I say Shema, or going in and focusing on my tefillah, and again, this is what we're going to talk about next week, but asking Hashem for what I need. That's a big part of tefillah, is turning and asking Hashem for what I need. Now, how can I do that? How can I do that? How do I turn and ask Hashem for what I need? So if I understand, as we say in Avarabba, Avinu Avarachaman, that Hashem, you're our merciful Father. Avinu Avarachaman, you're our merciful Father. Hamerachim Rachim Aleinu, have mercy on us. Let me say, V'sein b'libenu bina, then give us understanding, lahavan lahaskil, so that I can understand your ways. Lishma lomod ulamed, to hear, to adapt, to be able to give over. Lishma v'lasos, to safeguard and to fulfill, is called all of your mitzvahs. But when I understand that that's the relationship, and that needs focus on understanding. You know, we're raised to be independent. Right? We're raised that you got to do it on your own. So how many of us do it on our own? At risk of offending all of you? None of you. None of you do it on your own. Right? None of you. How do you grow your own food? Right? We don't do it on our own. None of us do it on our own. Right? We're interdependent. We're not independent, we're interdependent. We rely on each other. We rely on society at large. So why is it so difficult to also realize we're relying on Hashem? Right? When I recognize, you know, if the grocery store has no food, I'm in a lot of trouble. And I'm dependent on the grocery store. And you know what? We got a little bit of a taste of that over these last few months. A little bit of a taste of it. When all of a sudden you went into the grocery store and there's no flour. Certain basics weren't there. Well, one second, what are we supposed to do now? We're not independent. We're very dependent. Now, when you're dependent, who do you turn to? Really, you turn to the people who care about you the most. That's who you turn to. That's what we're saying now. That Hashem, who tefillah is this masuman, tefillah is this exchange. It's this give and take. It's this negotiation. But it's not a negotiation with a used car salesman. No offense to anybody who sells cars. It's not a negotiation with that. It's a negotiation with our Father. It's a negotiation with the being who created us, who loves us the most, who wants to give to us, but wants that relationship. That's who this exchange is happening with. That's what's occurring. And it's a buildup. The tefillah is a buildup to be able to ask that. It starts with the very personal, again, going back to what we said last time, the very personal brachas of Hashem, you gave me this, and you took care of this, and you took care of that. Then it's the Psuki de Zimra. It's these songs of praise, of recognizing we're not equal with Hashem. We're dependent on Hashem. Then we go to the Avarabba and then Shema. We go to the statement of Hashem's love of us in detail. of how much he loves us. And then we can say, I'm accepting upon myself that yoke of heaven because of the love that Hashem has for us. Then I can return that love to him. And all of a sudden, when something's done out of love, it's not a burden. It's not a burden, even when something's not so easy. So when something's done out of love, you don't feel burdened by it. You're happy to do it. And then we can turn and we can ask. And that's what we'll speak about next week, Mitzvah. Any questions? Happy to take questions. Okay, go ahead.
We were talking about focusing on, our prayers, but it's fine when, like for me, for example, at home right now, I'm not going to shul. And so I'm davening at home, and that is really easy to focus, and really my heart is in it. But when I was in shul, I was always behind. I was trying to catch up all the time. My question is it better to just stop and focus and then get behind and catch up later? I mean,
why are you always behind?
I'm slow.
So start earlier.
I come earlier. I have, and that's helped a lot.
Start earlier. Very, very simple. I for years, in many different settings, would start 15, 20 minutes, even a half hour early for a long time. Because the only thing you have to say together with everyone else is Shemona Esrei. The whole goal of a minyan is to start Shemona Esrei with everyone else. So start early.
Okay. Great.
Next question. Question? Lauren? You're muted. Okay.
I had the same, Bobby had a great question.
Okay. That was a statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, might be a silly question, but how do you know if what you're asking for is something you want or something you need? Like, is there a way to really tell?
You don't need to worry about it so much. You don't need to worry about it so much. Meaning, if you know what you're asking for is wrong, then don't ask for it. But if you're not sure, then and you think this is right for you, then don't worry about it. Then ask for it. And know that Hashem loves you, and he's not going to give you things that are really bad for you. You may be able to get them. We're not getting into free will right now. But within your tefillah, when you're asking for something, again, you're having a discussion with the person who loves you most in the world, with the being that loves you most in the world. No other questions? Awesome. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, can you ask for the same thing more than once? I mean, every Shabbos you talk about what you need or what you want Hashem to help you with.
So Shabbos actually is not the time to ask.
Yeah.
Shabbos is the exception. But during the week, can you ask for the same thing again and again and again? Absolutely. Moshe Rabbeinu asked to go into Eretz Yisrael hundreds of times. Hundreds of times he asked to be able to go. After Hashem told him he couldn't go, hundreds of times he asked to be able to go.
Can you ask Hashem about a medical issue?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
I have many, many times.
Okay.
But when you're lighting Shabbos candles, that you're allowed to ask.
Then you could, yeah.
Great class.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Right.
I have one question.
Sure.
How can you pray for the health of someone, or what's the appropriate form to pray for someone who's not Jewish for their health?
So everyone was created b'tzelem Elokim. They were created in Hashem's image, and you are if they are a good person, you're allowed to ask Hashem that they should be healthy.
So there's no, in terms of their Hebrew name, obviously they don't have a Hebrew name.
I don't have a
so-
Hebrew name. Hashem knows who you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Have a great night.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rabbi.
Thank you.